Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's APM webinar, The Role of Coaching and NLP in Enhancing Careers. I'm delighted that Dr. Manisha Patel from Kuzuko Group can join us. My name's Robert Allen, and I'm the APM Branches Manager, and I'll be your host for today. It's great that so many of you can join us, and I hope that this finds you well. We're keen to get your involvement today, so please post any questions that you might have in your control panel, and I'll read these out to Manisha at the end of the session. I would also like to take this opportunity to say thank you to all the APM branch volunteers, and especially the APM Midlands branch, for arranging today's session. So, Manisha is a qualified executive coach and NLP practitioner serving a number of sectors and disciplines. So, Manisha, over to you.
Thanks, Rob. I hope you're keeping safe and well. Right, so today's session's on the role of coaching and NLP in enhancing careers. And I'm really grateful that you could join us today. So I hope you'll take away some interesting bits that you can apply to your own careers. And today's agenda will include, we'll be starting off with benefits and differences between coaching and mentoring, because obviously there is some sort of overlap, but also some confusion between the two. Next, we'll be covering coaching tools to support your professional development, and then on to neuro-linguistic programming, so NLP for short, which can be used as a tool to support new behaviour generation and professional development. And then we'll go through the Q&A session with Rob at the end. Okay, so coaching is complementary to mentoring, but they're not the same. So it's important to understand the differences so that you are approaching the right mentor or right coach and you know what kind of support you can expect from them. So both provide a confidential space to help you develop professionally and personally. Coaching, through coaching, you set meaningful goals, assess your reality options, try to declutter and commit to manageable actions, and it can be effective regardless of the focus area. So for example, your coach can assist you in gaining fellowship without actually being a fellow. On the other hand, mentoring is effective if the mentor is already experienced in the focus area of the mentee. So for example, a fellow could mentor a professional in working towards fellowship. So this is just a diagram to present what the general differences are between the two. So on the left, you can see coaching. So you see the coach is pushing a coachee to their full potential. And on the right, you can see the mentor is pulling the mentee up to the same experience level or qualification to what they've got already. So there's a number of benefits of coaching. Some of them you may already be aware of, and some of them might be news to you. So one of the coaching benefits is that it helps when your unconscious map of the world is not aligned with your conscious action. So you're not getting the results that you'd hope to, and something doesn't seem right. You might feel stuck, for example. Next is it helps identify your unique skills, talents, motivations, and passions. This is really important if you're going to have overall career satisfaction. There's a lot of people that may be chasing particular type of work, particular type of roles, which aren't necessarily completely aligned with their values. So trying to find work which is aligned with your values is really quite important. Next is coaching provides an accountability partner to simply help you get things done and help you focus on the high value activities. Sometimes what happens is that we can become overwhelmed with the things we want to get involved with, with all of the distractions of life that we have around us. But what we want to do is focus on the high value activities and make sure that at the end of each day or at the end of each week, we feel like we've achieved something and we're closer to our overall goal. And your coach can help you making sure that you're on track with manageable actions and moving towards your specific goal. Next, it helps identify obstacles that are making you feel stuck, help you declutter, overcome challenges, and move forward in a manageable and fun way. One of the things that we have to try to do is make it fun and engaging exercise. Otherwise, it can be quite draining and you're not feeling motivated to get involved in these activities. And also, it's important to remember that you may be feeling stuck, like I was a few years ago, you may feel stuck, but you're not able to put your finger on why you actually feel stuck. So this again is a brainstorming opportunity to find out what it is that you need to tweak in your life to make you feel more satisfaction in your career. Coaching also helps in shifting mindset and new behavior generation to place you in a more resourceful state on demand to achieve more of your goals sooner. So what this means is that you essentially want to be thinking in a more resourceful state whenever you need it. So if you find yourself drifting off into a unresourceful state that's taking up your energy, is not helping you move towards your goals, you need to bring yourself back to a resourceful state and make sure that you're on track with this goal that you're trying to achieve. Next is coaching helps overcome your self-limiting beliefs, fears, and draws your attention, focus, and energy to your unique value and benefits to you of achieving your specific goals. So there's a number of items that I'm just going to dissect here. So, your self-limiting beliefs, you may not be aware of some of them. You may already be aware of some of them. So identifying what they are and increasing the awareness is really important. And also bringing your unique value, your USP to the table whenever you put yourself forward for a new job, a promotion, when you're trying to have influence in a team, for example. And then making sure that you focus on what the benefits are of achieving your goals. If you set a goal for yourself, and you've gone and done all the good work of goal setting, very specific and measurable goals, but then don't appreciate or don't focus on the benefit or the value it brings to your life, there's very little chance that you'll be successful at achieving that goal because you won't be motivated, you won't see the gain that there is for you in that. Next is coaching helps improve interactions between yourself and professionals, making you more focused, useful, and impactful in professional business environment. And then the final one is it helps increase your self-awareness, develop a useful mindset, understand your behaviors and emotions to enhance your emotional intelligence and well-being, but also your relationships as well. So there's a number of ways we can cultivate a coaching culture. You might be being coached at work by your manager, for example. They may be using coaching techniques to help your development. You can have on-demand coaching where you might say with your manager, you go and have a coffee with them. You're in the kitchen, you grab a coffee, and it's coffee cup coaching, like they call it. Next is leadership and management coaching, which is also called executive coaching. That's where it supports managers and leaders develop their leadership skills and potential, and helps unblock some of the blocks that they've placed in their mind, or help them declutter to pave a way which is clearer and more manageable for them. Because as you do progress through your career, you'll find that you do become busier and you want to be more intentional, you want to be more focused. Then we've got professional one-to-one coaching, and this is available to professionals of all backgrounds. And one of the things that I've tried to do over the years is use the coaching skills and qualifications that I have to support professionals with coaching, but also making it more affordable and accessible, because I think it's really important that the concept of coaching is available to professionals earlier on in their careers, and that it isn't always just reserved for senior professionals. Then we've also got team coaching, which is slightly different to group coaching, and this again we support businesses in coaching in this way. So there's a number of tools that we'll be going through that you can use, and I hope that you'll make most of the handouts and action sheets that I've provided as part of this session. The first one is time and energy management. We all could do with more time. We could all do with more energy. I'm sure, we're always finding that life takes lots of time and lots of energy in various ways. But it's important that if we're going to manage our time and energy effectively, we need to be more intentional and also manage your expectations. So don't be so hard on yourself or set your expectations too high that it makes it difficult to get started. And then also, before committing to any activities that do take up substantial amounts of time and energy, make sure you ask yourself, why you're doing it. Do you enjoy it? Or is it time to declutter and focus on higher value activities? So the first action sheet as part of the handouts that you'll get is this table with the instructions. So basically, you've got items that you can list within this table. So the first column is the things that you're going to stop. So you can list 5 items that you're going to stop, 5 things that you're going to do less of, then 5 things that you're going to keep doing, 5 things that you're going to do more of, and then 5 things that you're going to start. And obviously, if you can't think of 5, at least start with 1 and make a commitment to yourself to make that change, because if you really want to do more valuable things, things that are more useful to you in whichever way, you need to be more mindful of how you spend your time and energy. So the aim with career coaching is to ultimately have career satisfaction, and in order to do this, you need to be able to identify your personal values and make them a priority. For me personally, my values only came to light in recent years, and that's when I felt that I was much happier in my career, because I was doing more work that was aligned with my personal values. And also, it's important to assess the impact of your own career on the other people in your life. So, for example, if you have a family, if you are trying to pursue a particular goal, you always want to do almost an ecology check to see what impact it has on your partner, on your kids, on whoever it is, all of the people that it will impact, and check in whether it's going to create any issues for you or whether it's going to be beneficial. Okay, so the next exercise that I've shared as an action sheet in the handout is with regards to values. So if you could write down your values, I've provided a sample values list, and it's important that you're really honest with yourself. It's not something that you think you should be selecting. You're really, really honest with yourself, and you listen to your heart and not just your head, and it has a positive impact on other areas of your life as well. And one of the ones I wanted to just point out, which is popping up quite frequently as a value for many, is identifying freedom as a value. And what you will see is that obviously with everyone in lockdown at the moment, we're not allowed to be as free as we'd hoped. So that's conflicting with the values and then impacting how we show up, how we feel, and so on. So if you're developing a career path, you're developing a career plan, that you want to feel that you've got freedom, what do you need to do? What do you need to introduce to your career or to your behaviors to then get that freedom? So the exercise is just to make a list of the 8 values from the list, or you can select your own. Then we will take our values and input it into this wheel of life. So this wheel of life is a very simple concept. You can draw around a mug, split it into 8 segments and put 8 of your values on the ends. But it's a means to boost your intrinsic motivation by focusing on your personal values. And what you want to do is, if you look at this circle here, you've got your 8 values listed on each point. In the middle, you've got 0. On the outer edge, you've got 10. And openly and honestly, you need to score each of those areas of your life, and then put a mark on the circle. And the goal isn't to get 10 for each, it's just to find balance. So for example, you want to identify, of those 8 values, which one you've scored lower than the others, which one is causing that imbalance. And then we want to understand why you've scored that low and what it is you think that you need to do to bring that back to give you more balance. So you consider the options to increase the low score, to find more balance, and then obviously try to focus on what's within your control, because frustrations come from focusing on too many options where a lot of the things are outside of your control. So this is the wheel of life that will be available as the action sheet in the handout. You complete, you select your 8 values, you complete the wheel of life, and then you can identify areas of your for improvement and try to incorporate this into your 2021 CPD plan. And then hopefully you'll develop this habit where you continuously check in that your CPD plan is aligned with your values, your personal values. And it's an opportunity for reflection and a means to be more intentional going forward. Okay, so the next tool is the comfort zone. You might have seen lots of different versions of this, but it's a very simple but important concept. So it's important to know where you are in this diagram. And what happens is that a lot of people do like to feel comfortable in their comfort zone, but the problem with that is there's very little learning. And what you want to do is push into the stretch zone where you're in a consistent stage of learning, and then because you keep putting yourself in that state and going beyond your comfort zone, then you slowly increase your comfort zone, and by that then you become you develop yourself, you grow as an individual, and you're constantly learning and you're developing this attitude to learn. And obviously you don't want to be putting yourself in the stress zone, so not in the red zone, being mindful of the things that cause you stress, which you want to avoid, and try to get comfortable going beyond your comfort zone. Okay, next is fears. We've all got fears of various kinds, but these ones are examples of fears that can be showstoppers in our career, and it's important to try to identify them, manage them, and overcome them. So examples, I mean, you might have seen quite frequently, in social media, people have fear of missing out. If you are not putting yourself forward for that promotion, or you're not having that conversation with your manager, it's because you may have fear of rejection, or fear of inadequacy. Then there's other fears like fear of uncertainty, of being found out, of change, of losing control, of being judged, getting hurt, of fear of failure, and sometimes even fear of success. So some people might not even get started because they're worried that they're going to succeed, and how that would then impact their entire life. Okay, then we've got here the Johari's window, and that's a means to increase self-awareness. And the aim of this game is to uncover blind spots by receiving advice and feedback. So this is it's got four squares like a window. You've got the area which is known to self and known to others. That's the open area. You've got the known to self, not known to others is hidden. The not known to self and not known to others is unknown. And then you've got the blind area, which is not known to self but known to others. And the way you do that, like I've mentioned just now, is that you ask for feedback and you ask for advice. You reduce the blind spot as much as you can, and you understand your strengths and your weaknesses, and then hopefully you'll be able to highlight some improvement areas with that. And then you'll probably be in a better position to understand your personal value proposition and your self-worth. So when you go to the table for negotiations, or you're trying to have influence in any way on someone, you will be presenting yourself with better awareness of your value proposition. We want to be able to identify your self-limiting beliefs as well. And it's important to remember that if you don't believe it, then the chances of others believing it and buying into you are very low. So, work on your self-limiting beliefs. There's ones that you already know. There was ones that you want to try to uncover. Do your best to try to uncover those, and then work on ways to reduce those as well. And it's then you want to be surrounding yourself with a solid support system, because these are the people, even when you have a bad day, these are the people that help cheer you on, to help you keep going, try to calm your negative inner chatter and really help you move forward in your career. This is one of my favorite coaching models, which is a GROW model. And the GROW model is essentially something that you can write on a piece of paper, and then G stands for goal, R stands for reality, O for options, and W for way forward. So with regards to the goal, this needs to be a smarter goal of what you want to achieve or what desired state you want to achieve. Then with reality, you look at what's your current reality, what's your starting point. With options, you look at what's available to you, what resources are available to you on a, realistically available to you that will help you move towards your goal. And then you, with way forward, you map out actions after you've selected the best option, and then you do a mini commitment check on each of the actions to check that, are you really committed to this action, and have you seen enough gains and benefit from achieving your goal that you're committed to putting in the effort. And if you need to think about whether it's worth your time and investment, then you just place yourself in the successful future as if you've already achieved the goal, and notice how each option feels. And then you may have some internal indication as to what needs to be done. So smarter goal setting is used quite widely. You may have come across this already, but it's just a recap here. So smarter with the ER added at the end. So you've got, it needs to be specific, measurable. So you need to know when you've achieved it. It's got to be agreed, realistic, time-bound, ethical, and recorded. Ethical and recorded were added later, but recorded is really quite important as well. Just that if you write things down, you sometimes might find that you're making a commitment to yourself, and it's easier to track when you've visualized it on paper or something that you've written it down on. Okay, now we'll move to NLP, so neuro-linguistic programming. And NLP is sometimes described as the science of excellent communication. This is essentially where your thoughts, so neuro, are influenced by your words, linguistic, and are the drivers for follow-on action, so programming. So essentially, the better language you use, the better your mind would think, and the better you will behave and show up, and then that will lead to better outcomes. Okay, so within NLP, there's a number of presuppositions, or what we call principles, that practitioners like to follow. And I think they're simple principles of life that really do add value, regardless of whether you're a practitioner or not. And I think that if you have these in place, it can enhance your career. So the first one is have respect for the other person's model of the world. So this is where you might find yourself in conflicting situations with people, difficult people at work, or somebody who's you're not getting on with. But if you try to put yourself in their shoes, or you see things from their point of view, then you may be able to resolve that conflict and then be able to move forward. Then we've got the map is not the territory. So we all have our maps of the world, so how we see the world through our own lens, as they call it, but we call it map here. And so we all share the territory, but see this territory through our own lens or map. And we'd be mindful that if you want to have better influence or better satisfaction in your careers, the objective is to improve that map, improve the quality of that map, even the size of the map as well, so that you have a better understanding of the territory and are able to build rapport and communicate with more individuals, in a certain scenario. Next is mind and body form a link system. So obviously the way your body language, the way you behave, and it's all linked to your emotional and mental states. So be mindful of that. Then we've got, if what you're doing isn't working, then do something else. I think this is, quite common advice to many. So if you've been trying something, then and it's not working, try something else or revisit what you're trying to achieve. If you're getting the same results, you want to put some effort in making some improvement, so you're getting a different outcome. Choice is better than no choice. And I think it's important to try to identify the choices and options that are available to us. And sometimes that can be improved, even if you expand your networks, you speak to more people, you are potentially increasing the number of choices you've got, the more and the options that are available to you. we're always communicating even when silent. So, be mindful of your body language when you're having conversations, and when you're having a conversation with somebody you find is being difficult, even though you might have positive words coming out, is your body language reflecting that? And I think it's important to be aware of those. Then the meaning of your communication is the response you get. So, you might find that you're saying the same thing over and over and over and over again to somebody, and they're not getting the message. So then it's up to you. If you really want them to understand things from your point of view, you need to change the way you say it so they get the message that you want them to get. So revising how you deliver the language and how you communicate is, that's within your control. So to make the changes internally to have positive impact. Next, there is no failure, only feedback. I've had a lot of failures throughout my career, and now having looked at them as feedback, I'm really proud of them, because I've been able to now work in a situation where I really enjoy my career, and I really enjoy having feedback, and I don't mind failing, so it doesn't stop me from trying different things and new things. Then we've got behind every behavior, there's a positive intention. So if you think you might find that somebody is behaving badly, but they are behaving positively for themselves. They have positive intent for themselves. So when you appreciate that, you may understand why they're doing what they're doing, and then try to respond differently, or behave differently yourself. And then this one's quite key in coaching, which is anything can be accomplished if the task is broken down into small steps. Sometimes we find that we have such big actions, projects, articles, or whatever we're trying to work on, that we think, oh no, I can't do that, I'm not going to get started, it's just too big. So if you break it down into small enough manageable steps and be realistic with the time and energy that you have available, you're more likely to make small steps, and before you know it, you'll achieve your goal. So within NLP, there's an intention to use positive language, because, as I said, it impacts the way you think, and then ultimately impacts the way you behave and show up in the world. So positive language can affect your behavior and those you communicate with, and ultimately the outcome of the situation. It can help improve negotiation skills and influence, improve rapport and handling conflict better with difficult people, can improve how you communicate both verbally and non-verbally, and helps us shift from fixed mindset to a more growth mindset. So you might have seen on various platforms, the concept of fixed and growth mindset, and the goal is to be in a growth mindset so that we're always learning and we're always developing. A fixed mindset, you might be saying things to yourself like, I'm either good at it or I'm not. When I'm frustrated, I give up. I don't like to be challenged. When I fail, I'm no good. If others succeed, I feel threatened. My abilities determine everything. More of the same rather than the best year yet. And I think this is ultimately what keeps people stuck and stops them from growing and developing. And it's not a very useful mindset to have. So on the other side, what we're trying to achieve is a growth mindset. And you may say things like to yourself, I can learn anything I want to. When I'm frustrated, I persevere. I want to challenge myself. When I fail, I learn. If others succeed, I'm inspired. My effort and attitude determine everything. Your best year yet, instead of more of the same. So with NLP, we've got an opportunity here to recognize patterns. So we all have patterns, habits, strategies, programs for everything that we do. Some of these patterns serve us and others do not. So, in those cases, you might result in unwanted outcomes. And we need to identify which patterns are leading to unwanted outcomes and then change them. Because if you ask yourself who put those patterns, habits, strategies, programs in place, you did. So who's able to change them? Then the answer is you can. And then one of the biggest benefits of NLP is raising awareness of these patterns, habits, strategies, and programs that you have running unconsciously, and then use NLP techniques to change them for a more desirable outcome. So NLP techniques, We're going to highlight 3 techniques here, which are anchoring, belief change, and reframing thoughts. Very simple concepts, which have helped me significantly throughout the years. So anchoring is intentionally recreating a resourceful emotion while associating it with a physical action. So, for example, you might put your index finger and your thumb together, and every time you do that, you remind yourself that you need to be in a certain state that's more resourceful. So, you might have to think about being more confident, for example. Then with belief change, we're taking a deep dive into self-limiting beliefs and understanding the negative implications, and then we're doing an assessment of whether we need to make the change for the belief or we're happy with the negative implications, which often we're not. So we then do some deep dive in there. And then the third one is reframing thoughts. So changing certain emotions towards optimistic outcomes, so you can act on what you want rather than what you don't want. So always think in more positive, in a more positive ways. What do you want rather than what you want to get away from? Then that helps you think more positively and move towards your goal. So what can we do to be able to put this coaching tips and ideas into practice? So if you're willing and able, it'd be really good if you could complete these 3 action sheets that will be handed out as the handouts. I suppose you'll get those at the end, or they're attached to this platform. You can access them. And then number 2 would be try to create the right support system for you. So, you might have mentors, coaches, sponsors. There's all kinds of types of support professionals that you can have in your network that can help you develop where you don't feel like you have to do it all on your own. So you can find these people by attending events and networking. You might browse LinkedIn, for example. You might get support from the APM or your employer. But it's important to find someone whose approach appeals to you and someone that you feel that you can get along with. So this is what you call a chemistry check, because if that person doesn't have chemistry with you, then it's very difficult for you to, use their value as well as you can. And then it's important to explain what you're trying to achieve, because then if you tell people what you're trying to achieve, it's making it easier for them to help you. And if you then go down the route of having a coach in your support system, they will help direct you on the journey and the next steps as well. So be brave enough to start a conversation that matters, and I think that's what really helped me earlier on in my career, and I haven't looked back since. From the NLP point of view, how can you put this into practice? So here's some tips that I've drawn together based around the principles that I've shared. And I hope that, I'll go through these now, but I hope that you'll take some time to really think about how you can implement this into your working life, or even in your personal life, to help you show up in the best way that you can. So number 1 is intentionally react better to conflict by respecting other people's model of the world, and remember that we're all unique. Number 2, uncover more of the territory by increasing self-awareness, going outside of your comfort zone and learning. Identify when your self-limiting beliefs are getting in the way by asking for regular advice and feedback. Number 3, remember that body language and actions impact our mental and emotional states. Identify when you're moving away from resourceful state and intentionally bring yourself back to a resourceful state. And consider what behavior or program, as we say in NLP, program is required to support your goals, and use appropriate language to support that. Number 4 is, if what you're doing isn't working in achieving your goals, do something else. Just a reminder there. Number 5 is review what choices and options are available to you. You don't have to go alone. You can look at what's available to you through your networks, and really bring together this support system that's going to help you get where you want to be. Number 6 is remember that we're always communicating, even when silent. So pay attention to your body language and smile when you can. And then number 7 is remember that the meaning of your communication is the response you get, so adjust your communication for different outcomes. Number 8 is there's no failure, only feedback, so request feedback as often as you can. And that's not just on projects or, you know, in work. I think it's really important to get feedback on your skills, on your behaviors, your tendencies, your habits, and all of these things, so you can really nail down on what it is that's giving you negative outcomes that then you can change to get more positive outcomes. And then number 9, engage in more positive conversations with yourself, so better self-talk and with others. Practice gratitude, let go of things outside of your control. And then number 10, break down tasks into small manageable steps. Okay, thank you for listening. Don't forget to celebrate the little wins regularly. I think this is what helps keep us going, even though we've got the bigger goal in mind, and be the best version of you for you and your loved ones.
Excellent. Thank you, Manisha. Great knowledge and tips shared along the way. I've made a note about my GROW model, and I'm going to add ER on the end of SMART, especially about my own progression throughout the year. And I'm going to feed that back into the APM as well and see if we can add that in. We've had some lovely comments come in from people. Ashok loved your opening couple of slides, and he talked about the mountain, and that was really interesting. So thank you for sharing that. A number of people have asked about this presentation, and Manisha has kindly allowed us to record this session. And what we'll also do is make this available on the APM website and APM YouTube, along with copies of the presentation. But I would point you into the direction of your handouts and download that document that Manisha was talking about. And you can also connect post-webinar. So I'm going to delve into the questions, if that's okay. So we've had a good question from Catherine, who has asked, how has coaching and NLP impacted your career?
I think earlier on in my career, I found that I was getting into unresourceful emotional states that weren't helping me in work. And then I didn't realize that that was because of my own behaviors and not because of the people that I tended to blame. So that big change really helps me focus on, you know, the ability that we've got as individuals to make the changes that we want to make, regardless of what's going on outside. And that then has helped me really stay on track and get more of what brings me career satisfaction.
Excellent, thank you. So Matthew submitted a question. What is the difference between team and group coaching? I think this was probably one of your early slides. Just a clarity around that, please.
Yeah, so team coaching is typically when you're coaching a team towards a common goal. And then group coaching is when you're coaching a team potentially for individual goals, but you're coaching them in a workshop together. So there are overlaps, but they're not the same thing.
Excellent. I think you
does that answer the question?
Yeah, you slightly broke up towards the end of the answer on my end. So if Matthew, if you didn't get the full answer there, just let us know and I'll introduce you to Manisha after this. Some additional questions are coming about the handouts. So please feel free to go into your main control panel, and there's a section called handouts. And in there, there's some APM information, but also the handouts that Manisha's provided. So please have a look there. So there's been some great positive compliments coming your way. So great summary of coaching. I'm a qualified coaching now, running a coaching business with over 20 years. So really enjoyed hearing your side. Very informative. Thank you very much. Katrina has asked, many thanks for the great presentation. What are the techniques to actually let go of something that doesn't work? It's really difficult to let something go, especially if you've been working, trying to achieve something for a long time.
What we found in, I suppose, from a one-to-one approach is that if you're struggling to let go of something, then maybe switch it around to focus on what you're trying to achieve. What are you going to gain by letting go? And then when that focus is switched on what you're going to gain, you map those little actions and step towards that, gaining that. And then there's less attention on what you're letting go. I think that's a good approach and sometimes works for individuals, but obviously it would need to have more conversation around that.
Excellent, thank you. So John said, super session, thank you. Darren said, brilliant, enjoyed this session, thank you very much. Okay, so Andrew, I don't know if this is a question or just general thoughts. Andrew has said, it would seem a fixed mentality is most unhelpful, sometimes seems within an organisation. It would seem a fixed mentality is most unhelpful, sometimes seen within organisations. I think that's a general comment from Andrew rather than a question there. Oh, okay, so Andrew's just sorry about this. Andrew's then followed on. How would this be overcome? How is a fixed mentality, which is sometimes seen as unhelpful and seen within organisations, how can we best overcome that?
I think it's important that if you're trying to encourage other people to develop growth mindsets, that they understand the value add for them personally. So if there's an organization is made up of individuals. There's somebody who has, the influence or has this in place that then leads to the fixed mindset. So if that person is identified, it's important to then try to have a conversation, if you've got the opportunity to, with them about, what value there is for them personally to make that shift to a growth mindset. What can they gain from that?
Excellent, thank you. And Andrew, thank you for your additional comments just to allow me to form that into a question. That really helped. Helen has asked, or firstly started by saying, great presentation, thank you. From a coaching perspective, what would you say is the main qualities we should be looking for in a coach?
I think it's important that you do your chemistry check first. A coach can be qualified, have X number of years of experience, but if they don't have a chemistry with you, it's very difficult for them to support you on your journey. So what happens typically is, if you want to engage in have a look at their LinkedIn profile, or have a brief chat with them, or get to know them first, and then it's always useful if they've achieved what you're trying to achieve, but then you can also approach a mentor for that. But if they have some understanding of your background, it can be quite helpful as well.
Excellent, thank you. I hope that helps you, Helen. There's some great questions coming through. Could you recommend any good and open resources on NLP for self-development?
There's a lot of books available, and personally, what I've found over the years is that because NLP is such a complex topic, it's sometimes difficult to understand. So if you are going into learning about NLP, then you might see some free articles on LinkedIn, or you might see some free resources on the Association of NLP. But they've also got some I would say affordable books that are that gives you the outline of NLP in a more manageable way. They're available from bookstores like Waterstones. I don't work for Waterstones, by the way.
Excellent, thank you. Helen's already responded to say thank you, and additional people are saying thank you very much for your informative answer as well. So it looks like we've kind of gone through the questions that have been submitted. A lot of people have really enjoyed your presentation. Daniel's just jumped in with a question. What is the main advice when going for a new role, promotion or pay rise?
Do your research. I think that's the main bit. Like with your company that you're going to, the person that you might be working for, as much research that you can do and as much information that you can find, I think that would help you then position the person that you need to be, to then show that you match in terms of skills, that you match in terms of behaviors and personalities, because some people do look at your personality and whether you'd be a fit within the team. Okay,
so do your research, understand your value, then have that positive and confident conversation with the person that you're either going for the promotion or the pay rise, etc. So that's great. Ram has just asked, who are your role models?
There are a number of role models within the sector that have really supported me throughout my career, and I think that there's one chap called Alex Haynes. He now is the Senior VP in Business Development. He's been supporting me on various roles. And there's also, I've been trying to find role models in real people, because sometimes it's difficult to reach out to people that are celebrities or more well known. Getting access and support from real people helps you get real results. Then it doesn't feel that it's so far to reach as well.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. Questions are flooding in. So Thomas has said, what would be the best piece of advice you would give to someone to overcome imposter syndrome?
I think you just have to get on with it. I think, again, you think about the value that you will get from indulging in that situation that gives you imposter syndrome, and then slowly keep putting yourself in that situation, and then that, because you're growing and you're learning, soon enough it'll become your comfort zone again.
Excellent,
and everybody has imposter syndrome, even when they're professionals and doing things for years. I think it's just something that they just deal with.
Excellent. Thank you. And Thomas, I'm sure that helps you out. Again, some great questions coming in. So Darren has said, it can be difficult to get the penny to drop in getting people to identify their self-limiting beliefs or limiting behaviours. Any advice for a line manager or coach other than giving friendly feedback?
I think this comes down to always looking at the person's values and how overcoming those self-limiting beliefs. What do they gain from that, and how's that aligned with their values? So I think that value add is really important to get buy-in from anyone in any situation. Excellent.
Thank you. Daniel has shared that he's recently become a mentor within his company. So Daniel, we wish you well with that. Daniel's asked, what words of wisdom can you offer to help him in a new voluntary role?
That's a very general question. I think, is it with regards to mentoring?
Yes, it is, yeah.
I think just being yourself and being approachable is really important. I think sometimes we put these labels on things like coaching and mentoring that they have to be really formal and sometimes boring, but actually they can be really fun. You can have, you can work toward your goal, but have a good laugh at the same time and be yourself. I think that's really important.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm going to combine a couple of questions here, but Katrina's kind of summed it up quite nicely. She said, is there an NLP technique to deal with strong characters who often overtalk others in meetings or other scenarios like that?
I think it comes down to finding your own voice in a room when there's a more overpowering voice there already available. So I think it then comes back to trying to show what value that you bring, but also, that the person that is overpowering the meeting or the session is then understanding that you also bring that value and gives you the opportunity to talk. But obviously you can only focus on what's within your control. You can't, you've got to work with your influence and your value add than anything else, in my opinion. Excellent.
Thank you. I'm pleased to see that question wasn't posted by any of my colleagues who I have regular meetings with, which is great. Rafael has talked about qualifications and learning. What level of learning and certification would you recommend for NLP before you become recognised or certified as a coach?
Okay, so with NLP, there's obviously different grades that you can have. NLP practitioner is the first one. So what NLP practitioners do is they apply it to themselves. So when you deliver as a coach, you show up better, you show up as a better coach. So you're doing what's within your control. Then the next stage would be master NLP, which then you'd be able to use NLP on the person that you're coaching. Then the next is I think it's train the trainer. So you train others to become NLP practitioners. But what I've seen, and I think what is important to remember, is that it needs to be fit for purpose. What are you trying to achieve from the NLP? Is it sufficient that you simply think about the NLP presuppositions, or do you need to go and get a qualification? I mean, I've been collecting certificates throughout my career. My partner actually laughs about that, but you know, is another certificate going to give you the value that you're looking for? Is it going to help you reach towards your goals? So be very selective.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, as you say, I think it kind of ties with what you're saying. Do your research, find what you need to complement your career going forward. But yeah, good to hear you got a certificate room then in your house, that all the certificates are up on the wall. Okay, so Craig has asked, how frequently would you recommend completing handouts to continue to achieve positive results?
I think if you do one, it's a great improvement to what you've done already, and then see how you feel after you've done these, and just check if you feel that there's significant changes in your life. Then do a check-in with what you need to start, you know, your time and energy management, or if there's any situations where you feel like you're getting stuck, overwhelmed, just do a check-in, just to clear your head and give you that headspace that you need to crack on.
Excellent, Craig, I hope that helps. I think it's definitely something I'm going to personally do. I think I need to complete it once and then do the regular check-ins with myself to see where I'm going. I must admit, as I say, the grow and the smart, or the smarter, is something that I've definitely taken out of this today. So Manisha, people have come, Craig's just said thank you, really does help. There's some great comments coming through from everyone saying thank you for your time, and also responding to the questions. I'll send those through to you later today so you can have a look over those. It kind of just really leaves me to say thank you to yourself for giving up your time today on behalf of the APN Midlands branch. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. And thank you everyone for joining us today and getting involved and posting some really great questions. We hope to see you at future APN webinars, but most importantly, keep well and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.